Welcome to Live, Lead, Legacy, the podcast where visionary leaders come to ignite inspiration and make a lasting impact. I'm your host, Carlos Luna, an executive leader with a journey shaped by resilience, ambition, and purpose. Each week, we bring you deep, insightful conversations with exceptional leaders who aren't just excelling in their fields. They're transforming their industries, strengthening their communities, and in doing so, shaping future generations. So grab a seat, lean in, and let's embark on this journey of leadership excellence together. This is Live, Lead, Legacy, where life and leadership intersect. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a guest whose journey embodies resilience, expertise, and certainly a passion for making a difference. Born in Havana, Cuba, Rafael Gonzalez's story begins with a rich cultural heritage that has shaped his worldview. After spending his early years in Madrid, Spain, Rafael and his family made their way to Miami, Florida, a move that would mark the start of an extraordinary journey. Rafael earned his Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Florida before pursuing his Juris Doctor degree at Florida State University. His career has been nothing short of remarkable, with a proven track record of leadership in some of the most complex areas of law, compliance, and healthcare. From serving as corporate counsel for FCCI Insurance to leading the Center for Lien Resolution, Medicare Set-Aside Administration, and Special Needs Trust Administration, Rafael has built a legacy of innovation and strategic solutions. He's held C-suite executive roles with Gould Lamb, PMSI Helios, Flagship Services Group, and UnitedHealth Optum Settlement Solutions, leaving an indelible mark each step of the way. Now as partner at Cattie González PLLC, Rafael continues to champion change, leveraging his expertise to empower others and navigate some of the most intricate legal and compliance challenges of our time. The most impressive character trait of Rafael, in my opinion anyway, is not his impressive professional resume, rather his endless pursuit to help and to be a resource for others. Rafael is the recipient of the U.S. President Call to Service Award, Corporation for Community Service, as well as a recipient of the U.S. President Volunteer Service Award, Corporation for National Community Service. Rafael, it's an honor to have you here today. Welcome to Live, Lead, Legacy podcast.
Thanks, Carlos. Man, you make me emotional already just listening to you. It's so wonderful to be with you and so grateful for this incredible opportunity to speak to you for a while.
Well, thank you, my friend. I'm so humbled that you would accept the invitation and be my inaugural episode. So thank you.
Sure, it really is. What a great honor.
Your story is pretty incredible, Rafael. Ever since I've known you, I've been in awe of not only you as a person, as a human being, but certainly your accomplishments. And I can't wait to dive into how your personal experiences and professional milestones have shaped the leader that you are today. So why don't we start from the beginning? Havana, Madrid, to Miami. How did these early experiences shape your path?
They still do, Carlos. I think I wear all of that on my sleeves because it's such an integral part of who I am and the process that we have all of us who are immigrants to this amazing and wonderful land have to go through. We escaped communism in Cuba. My grandparents have been born in Spain, so that's how we got to Spain. We got permission from the government because of our ancestry up there, knowing that the dream was to come to the States. So we spent about 4 or 5 years in Madrid before we got permission to enter the United States. We first flew to Houston, Texas, and probably like every other good Cuban family in the face of the universe, off to Miami we went. So ended up in Miami and finished elementary school in Miami, and then went to junior high in Miami. and went to high school down there as well. As a community, they were so well equipped to handle immigrants like myself. Within a year, they had us speaking English. Within a couple of years, we dominated the language. I entered junior high and I was in honors English in just a couple of years. So as a community, Miami was wonderful. What a community of true international folks, but very heavily Cuban populated. So it welcomed us and off we went, right? And we took every advantage and every opportunity of that community to integrate and to learn and to begin this dream, right? That in a sense, allowed us.
That's amazing. Rafael, I love imagining you as a youth. As a child, you must have been one adorable kid. Just knowing you now, your personality is so pleasant. It's so bubbly. And gosh, if I were to talk to your parents or maybe some adults that knew you as a kid, how would they describe young Rafael?
I think what you're getting now is what I was. I've always, this personality has always been. I was a happy, always half full kind of kid as I am as an adult from the very beginning, Carlos. And I think you and I share in this idea that I wanted to give back, to say thanks, right, to this wonderful country and this wonderful folks that have given me these incredible opportunities. So I always look for the chance to say yes and serve my community. So all through junior high, all high school, and certainly college and as a professional, always looking for that opportunity to be of service, to truly give back, to try and make a difference, to touch other folks that maybe have been in our situation, and to try and see what I can do to push those folks forward as well. So I think what you see today, although significantly heavier and a lot older and all the gray, this is probably what I've been my entire life. Yeah.
You look amazing, man. You don't look a year over 32, that's for sure. You look incredible.
Oh, you're so good to me.
I can relate to the gray. I mean, somebody dared me to grow a beard, and I didn't realize it was going to come out so gray. Otherwise, I may not have taken up the challenge. So I'm right there with you. Although I might be a little bit older than you, just judging by the way that we look. Let me ask you a question, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, but clearly, this country has benefited greatly from having a policy of embracing immigrants, right? And really creating programs and systems that bring such amazing human beings like yourself who have incredible capacity and can contribute so much to not only the business world, but certainly to society on the whole. What would your guidance be to the U.S. government today? And again, I don't want you to get too far into the weeds here, and this is for all my friends that are both Republicans and my friends that are also Democrats. What would your recommendation or your guidance, this is not legal advice, by the way, to anybody, but I'm just curious to hear your thoughts, right, on what we need to continue to do and maybe what we need to stop doing as a society to encourage more people like yourself of high caliber to come to this country, flourish, and then everybody benefits on the whole.
Carlos, I have served under both Republican and Democratic administrations over the years. You mentioned a couple of those President's Awards. One was under President Bush, another one was under President Obama, Barack Obama. So I get it, right? I have never allowed the politics of that to take away from the glory that it is this amazing country. For me, I come at it with this background to say, I'm just another example of what's out there and what could be. So if we allow ourselves to open up and to truly watch for individuals who have the capacity, the desire, I mean, you talked the resilience, the leadership, the intention, the purpose, all of those things matter. And here we are, right? Making a difference and a great contribution to this wonderful country. So for me, whether an R or a D, the policy of embracing is where it's at.
I love it. You said something that really stood out to me. You said Miami had a great system in place that really helped you to embrace the culture, embrace the changes in your life, and really, put you on a path that would help you assimilate a lot faster and a lot easier, right? I'm surprised and equally impressed that you were an honor student in English by the time you were in middle school. That's incredible.
It really is.
One of the things that I definitely feel that needs to improve, at least in the state of Colorado, which is where I reside. That's where my office is. Our corporate office actually is in California, but I happen to be domiciled in Colorado. And one of the things that I feel we need to do a bit better is to create and foster these systems that as folks are coming in from outside the country, right, they need to have a process in place that is going to help them assimilate, acclimate to the new environment, acclimate to the new language, acclimate to the new way of doing things so that they can be on a fast track, right, to bigger and better things for themselves, which translate into bigger and better things for our communities. And on the whole, bigger and better things for this country. What do you think about that?
I am an example of that, and I have tried to live that exact same ideology. My entire adult life, I have reached back out to middle schools and high schools and colleges and tried to really, get down and dirty with students to try and say to them, because I didn't have an example, here's what it could be. Here's what it could be like for you. It takes dedication. It takes purpose. It takes intent, right, to want to study and to get better at it and to truly devote yourself to your area of study. But here I am as an example to you that if you do that, anything is possible. Absolutely anything is possible.
So you grow up, you transition well. Seems like you're thriving by all means, scholastically and socially there in Miami, in Florida. As you're heading off to college, right, to pursue your degree at the University of Florida, and then ultimately end up at Florida State University, what sparked your passion for leadership? Is that innate? Was that something that you feel was demonstrated for you by someone in your life, whether it be a parent, whether it be a mentor, whether it be, someone of influence in your life? What sparked that passion for leadership for you?
I ran in 7th grade, resident of student government at Shenandoah Junior High, and I lost big time, Carlos.
Oh, I don't see that, by the way. I don't see who wouldn't vote for you.
Listen to this. She was a personal friend, a beautiful, gorgeous cheerleader who everybody at school knew, and there he goes. So what a smart cookie she was. She asked me to be her vice president. And immediately, right, I think I already had it, but that certainly sparked it, an interest in what can we do to make things better around here? What are the things, that our own students need, want, desire, and what can we do about it? So from an early on experience, Carlos, I thought, there is a methodology here, right? The ideology of the United States is to have this open invitation to join, participate, and create. And I fell in love with that ideology. I still am today, very much today. No matter what the administration, no matter, what the politics of the day, this idea that you can contribute, that your ideas matter, that, as a group, we're going to talk about it, listen to it, and hopefully get to the right solution. So I still believe in it wholeheartedly.
I think that's fantastic, Rafael. Your attitude towards being a part of society, irrespective of, what you feel might be, or not what might be or who might be, right, in influence, you continue to be a contributor to progress, which I think is an incredibly important attribute to have as part of our society. So you lose this race, right? this smart gal really teaches you a lot of lessons about leadership and about campaigning. I have noticed that you picked up a lot of cheerleading traits along the way that you exhibit in your profession, which is fantastic. So you did learn along the way. That's great. How did you fall into insurance? You know, insurance is not one of those things where people are like, that's what I want to do the rest of my life, right? I want to be an underwriter. That sounds really sexy. How did you come up or fall into the insurance discipline?
It was not until law school, Carlos. For me, this world didn't exist. Totally unaware. Not a single clue about it. But it wasn't until law school you began to read some of these cases and who pays the big bill at the end of the day, that kind of that ideology, that open door, if you will, into this component of insurance. And through law school, and I had a wonderful opportunity. I interned for the judiciary, clerk for Supreme Court Justice of the Florida Supreme Court. I worked 3 years with the Florida legislature. Ileana Ross was the first Cuban immigrant elected to the Florida House of Representatives, and I clerked for her in her first term. So I was able to do all of these things during law school that really opened me up to all of these wonderful opportunities, ideas. And so I immediately fell in love with this risk analysis and risk transfer that allowed businesses to do their thing and to grow and prosper by having this protective layer behind them.
Is there anything that you would say, you know, once I jumped in with both feet, right? I really learned that I can be passionate about this, or I can really invest myself in this area of work. Is there anything that you would say, man, this really impacted the way that I look at insurance, or the way that I look at, you know, the claims process, or, you know, whatever? Are there any important lessons that you've picked up?
So I immediately was drawn to these social complex systems like Social Security, right? That where everywhere else in the world, older folks suffer and go with less. Here we are, where we all share together in the ultimate financing of a system that allows for dollars, right, to be provided to individuals at that age when they need it most. That ideology was both complex, but so incredibly wonderful in the smallest nature of watching your own grandparents benefit from that system and that process. So it immediately drew me in. And once I fell in love with that, it was almost a hop, a skip, and jump, if you will, to workers' compensation, where the ideology that somebody, kisses their spouse in the morning, goes off, has this horrific accident or injury, and a system is in place to be able to respond, right, to that horrific day, both from an indemnity perspective and medical perspective. So I was drawn to it, Carlos, I think because of the social humanitarian component to it. And I think you may have already picked it up. While learning the language, I became a math guy. I excelled in the numbers. So I started taking algebra and geometry in junior high. By the time I got to Miami Senior, they had run out of courses for me. So I started taking calculus 4 and 5 my freshman year in high school at the University of Miami. So I became a real numbers guy. Translate all of that once I went into adulthood and law school and all of that, and the math, right, the economics of this entire system, in addition to that humanistic component of it, became a thing that I just could not walk away from. I just fell in love with it immediately.
Is there anything that you would say, man, I really don't care about that element of insurance? We would be better served as a society and as a system, right, from an insurance standpoint. And I don't necessarily want you to call anybody's baby ugly here, because I know we know a lot of folks in that ecosystem. But is there anything that you would say, big picture, high level, right? If we were to revamp this piece of insurance, if we were to approach this slightly differently, man, we could sure stand to do a lot more good, but also, right, it makes fiscal sense to do it for insurance companies and for employers that ultimately end up footing the bill. Any epiphanies along those lines?
So, Carlos, I think any denial, whether it be in a workers' comp claim, in a liability situation, or even in healthcare environment, right? Any denial to the beneficiary, to the owner of that policy, the payer of that protective layer, hurts, right? And it leaves a lasting impression. And we're seeing some of that happen here before our very own eyes here recently, right? Where the anger, the frustration, the angst, right, with a insurance world denial doesn't go away anytime soon. It can fester to a point where awful things, right, can happen. So that right there, how do we turn a no to a yes? Can we? Can we do that financially? What else do we need to do in the system to provide better ways, mechanisms to be able to get to a yes? So I love that question because I think it's very doable. It really is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about dollars and cents. You know, a social security system doesn't ever say no to anybody who contributes. Everybody, right, gets it if you contributed. Can we get there in the insurance world? It may be that each product is more expensive than what we're paying for it now, but can we get to a place where the answer is yes?
Very intriguing, Rafael. As I was reading the information and just doing my homework on you, one of the things that stood out to me was just the amount of volunteer work that you do, the amount of benevolent work that you participate in. Can you tell us a little bit about the community service and the work with nonprofits that you're currently engaged in? I know that there's one particular initiative that gosh, I'm really impressed that you're a part of it, but not only a part of it, and seem to be, a very play an integral role in it for Latinos out on the East Coast, young Latino students. Can you tell us a little about your community service and some of the nonprofit work that you currently do?
Education for me, Carlos, is the key, right, to an opportunity to grow and to become whatever your dream may be. So early on for me, again, having no examples of professionals or folks that had been successful, I promised myself that I wanted to become that example. I wanted to be an integral part in providing the next generation those opportunities. And so wherever I have been, no matter where I have lived, and I have gotten myself involved in whatever that local school environment is. And for a number of years here in Tampa, I've been associated with and been volunteering at the University of South Florida. This is my 28th year that I've been teaching over there. I'm teaching workers' comp and Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and Affordable Care Act. Again, social systems, safety systems for a lot of our elderly, disabled, financially challenged individuals. So I began with that idea of sharing my knowledge with them. And through the years, the administrations at the university have asked me to serve in various councils and committees and symposiums and all kinds of different projects that I have absolutely loved. All of it with the purpose of providing opportunities for Hispanic students here in our local community. And now we've got students from 83 countries around the world. So we're not just a little tiny community here, right? We've got folks from all over the world attending and committing to this community, if you will. So I've been, happy to be a part of raising over $5 million in scholarship funds for these university students. I chair and president of Latin Advisory Council for the president of the university. Have done so now for multiple presidents, and it's a gift for me, Carlos. It really is. I get emotional about it because it's the ability to truly make that difference, right? Truly see for yourself that you're connecting with this community and that folks are enjoying the fruits and labor of that. So I now have students that have become doctors and lawyers, and engineers, teachers, and nurses, all walks of life as a result of this program that we've now had for more than 35 years. What an amazing experience to see the work that you do become, and then it changes your community. Folks are better today. Their families are better today because of that work. Truly amazing.
You know, Rafael, one of the very impactful peripherals here that I see in you being involved at the level that you're involved in is that you're providing a bit of a model, for these students that are coming up. One of the things that I did not have growing up, and maybe you can relate to this, is really just not having an example of the heights that are possible for me professionally and in a professional capacity. When I was hired onto my very first CEO role, my eldest brother actually broke down in tears because he felt as though all of his sacrifice, all of his, all the tribulations that he had gone through were all worth it, right? Because his hermanito made it, right, to where he felt was the pinnacle of professional success. A lot of kids don't have, that example to look up to. What do you do in your life to make sure that you can demonstrate, right, to these students, to these young men and women that are coming up, that are coming to our country in hopes of earning a degree that are going to help them get to the pinnacle of their professional success?
It's one of the things that I still do every day, Carlos. I inject myself. I'll give you a perfect example because it just happened. I've got a friend who's a teacher at our local community college, and she asked me to do exactly what you're talking about here. Hey, Ralph, will you come? These kids have no examples in their homes or in their, the day-to-day folks that they hang around with of what it could be, right? They don't know anybody their level was them. No resources, but that made it through school, went to law school, have had this experience and that experience. So I did, off to our local community college, just to say, look, I'm going to sit with you for a couple of hours, ask away, whatever you like, because I was you. And I didn't have someone like me to say, how do you do it? What do you focus on? What do you recommend I, put myself in front of or get engaged in or, get involved in now? And so for me, that's the most important part, right? For them to touch me, feel me, use me up, if you will, ask away, because what you know, what I know, they're brilliant. They are well-intentioned. They have the dreams. They have the aspirations. They're working as hard as they possibly can. What they're missing is resources, right? And so pointing them in that direction and yet giving them this, like, wow, it can be me. It can happen. Look, that guy did it. And I remain, when I know each other personally, I always try to remain, no matter what, right? That accessible, that kid, right, early on, because I never want to lose that personally, and I never want folks who are meeting me for the first time to think, oh my gosh, he's been CEO of this, that, or the other. Like, no, 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 no. I want you to relate to me at that level so that, like you, I believe that creates trust. That creates, a desire. Can you and I get to know each other? Can you and I remain friends? Can I count on you to help me, lead me to, whatever the dream may be?
You know this about me. I love to talk about myself, right? but it's not for the reason that you might think or that people may think. I love talking about myself. I love talking about the things that I've been able to accomplish in my life because it's a way for me to talk about the people that came before me. I honestly can say that I would not have reached the heights that I've reached, and it's no way, shape, or form, a declaration of complacency. I'm not done yet. I still have a few more gallons in the gas tank, right? I still have a little bit more to go. But, my mother passed away 13 years ago, and one of the ways that I remember her is to talk about the things that I've been able to accomplish because of her support, because of her sacrifice, because of my family's sacrifice, their encouragement, their support. Tell me about, the type of support, the type of encouragement that your parents gave you as a child, or maybe, as you were getting ready to go off to college and pursue your path as a professional. Tell us about Mama and Daddy Gonzalez. What were they like?
So more or less like you, Mama raised us by herself, both my brother and I, on a waitress salary. Did not dominate the language. So, financially a tough place to be in a hard situation to be a part of. But man, did she teach us about ambition and resilience and leadership and intent and passion, and honesty and treating people with decency and respect and honor, no matter at what level people may have been. So I carry that with me every single day. It is, for me, she's still the most important individual who has shaped me in all different ways. Uh, she passed away 8-9 years ago, and just I am who I am today because of her. I've been blessed enough. Lisa and I have been married now for close to 40 years. We met first day of class at the University of Florida in 1983. And you talk about somebody who also has just been the hugest component of my life, right? So I owe her who I am today, her guidance, her leadership, her love, her support. It has allowed me to do all of the things that you've read, out loud about me. I really do. I'm a byproduct of the two of them and their love and their, incredible support of everything that I dreamed about or wanted to be engaged in. So it takes that, Carlos. You and I knew it, right? It takes individuals like in your own life to truly, and it's not been hard to take energy from them and to empower myself to then go forward, because I've had amazing examples in my life that say, yeah, you can do it and you can still be wonderful, great to people no matter where they're at in their lives,
Rafael, you're one of the insurance industry's most recognizable, certainly most likable leaders. Most consider you a mentor, a teacher, and certainly some people like myself would consider you a spokesperson of the community, of our work community. That must feel pretty good, right? It must at times be a validation to you that you've been effective as a leader, as a person, with having placed your mark on something important. With this in mind, what would you say is the most rewarding part of what you currently do for a living? You help a lot of people, you educate a lot of people, you create paths for people where otherwise there might not be a path for them, right? What would you say is the most rewarding part of your current work?
Credibility, Carlos, is something that, for me, from the very beginning of my career, right, I wanted to be thought of as a thought leader, as somebody who knew the substance, as somebody who the industry could count on to provide wise counsel, decisive, but very, very meaningful to be able to make decisions of where to do and where to go. So for me to have been able to get here, right, to do that, to serve in that capacity, to provide that service to folks, man, oh man, it's truly professional dream come true, right? To be able to be thought of as an individual in the industry where people can go to for solid advice that's going to not get them into trouble and save them from potential civil monetary penalties and lawsuits and all kinds of yucky stuff. I take great pride in that, and it is truly one of the most rewarding components for me is to have folks look at me in that regard, come to me because of that. It's so incredibly meaningful, and that, like you, Carlos, plays out when people ask you to come and speak to them. When organizations come and say, will you join us and provide us your leadership on this issue, that issue? Will you help us study this situation and provide opinions about what to do and where to go? That's a real confirmation that the work you've been doing for a long time is both meaningful to folks, and it is a basis, a foundation for improving of where to go from here. So what an incredible experience. What a great gift.
You and I have talked often about the importance of creating a plan for succession, so to speak, for our industry and really trying to mentor and model leadership for the next regime, right? For the young leaders out there that will eventually take our spots. For those individuals, Rafael, would you share with us your approach or your thought process when dealing with high stakes decision making, right? As a president of large healthcare systems like Optum, like UnitedHealthcare, running a business like Cattie González, what is your approach when making those high stakes decisions that young leaders might be able to glean some wisdom from?
Nothing beats preparation, Carlos. Nothing beats doing the homework, doing the research, diving in and learning it better than anybody else knows it. And that doesn't come easy and it takes time, but that is the trick. That is the secret, right? Is learning all the aspects and the components of that particular equation to be able to then ask the right questions, obtain the right information and advise, and then make a decision. And it oftentimes makes it incredibly easier to make that decision once you know the factors, once you've studied them, once you know where they came from and how significant they are, right, in the process that you're trying to build. That is never easy, never. But for me, it has proven itself again and again and again to be the key in making the right decision.
So earlier you talked about the ramifications and perhaps the byproduct of, individuals being disappointed and upset and really to some degree hateful about a specific business sector because they were denied, right? We're talking about the insurance sector and the influence that we have on people's personal lives. We recently heard of headlines of the CEO of UnitedHealthcare having been gunned down in New York, right outside a hotel that he was scheduled to speak at. As a former senior executive in the healthcare space, Rafael, what came to mind when you heard the news of that individual's slaying?
Sadness, Carlos, just the devastation to his family, right? Just sadness, complete sadness, right? That something like that could happen. Of course, you step away and you start asking the whys, right? And you start learning fairly quickly that it's as a result of maybe denials of benefits, maybe anger that folks, been carrying around. And you've got to be honest with all of that to figure out why, right? Where are those decisions coming from? Why are they being made in that regard? Why no and not a yes, right? What is it about those circumstances? So it goes back to your earlier question, right? Are we doing a good enough job today in that space where could we get to a yes? And if so, then wow, what are we doing today to get there? What is the answer to a yes instead of a no in that particular situation? So for me, I started to cry immediately when I found out about it because I knew him. I mean, this is somebody that I have, been around with and have known for a while. And so to be able to, on a personal basis, my goodness gracious, I know his family, what they must be going through immediately, right? But then my brain went there as well, right? Is there a history? And what is our industry doing to be able to remedy that or make it better if we can?
Rafael, one of the things that made me even more sad about the situation is the fact that there were people online and on social media almost celebrating the act, almost to suggest that this individual deserved their fate. What are we coming to in this world that we feel that someone deserves death because they're in a leadership position at a company that adversely may or may not have impacted someone else's family? That to me really impacted me at a very deep level. It made me think about what is the climate of our personal feelings about these sort of things as a society, right? Irrespective of whether or not you agree with someone, you feel that someone has done you wrong. I would never wish death or that type of grief on anyone's family. There is a way, right, to dispute. There is a way to deal with things that you disagree with. There is a way to lobby for your own interests. And when we lose those mechanisms and we start to feel that we're justified in taking someone's life for any reason, we're not in a great spot, right, as society.
I share that completely with you. It saddened me immediately to see the comments and some of the things that were being published immediately thereafter. To get to the solution, Carlos, right? And I always compare, for example, our employer-based private insurance world with Medicare, which I'm so intimately involved with and have been a part for so long, right? Where pay a premium in generally over 99% of the time, the answer is yes to that service. Are there denials? Absolutely, right? But generally the answer is yes, as compared to in a private setting where the no's, maybe in the yeses are still overwhelming, 80, 85, percent of the time, but there are more no's than there are in this public Medicare system, for example. Let's learn from that, right? What are we doing in one versus the other, so that we can prevent the anger, right, and the angst that happens thereafter. So for me, I immediately think about our solution, right? How can we change the systems and processes to be able to get to a better place?
Thank you for that, Rafael. You've done a lot of work in the nonprofit sector, in the in the education sector. You've done incredible work in the insurance community as well, in the insurance industry. Your family is beautiful, incredible. Tell us about your family. You mentioned briefly your beautiful wife. Do you have any kiddos? What are their ambitions?
I have two boys, Alex, our oldest one, and Andres, our younger. Alex is now 30, Andres is 25, so they're not little tiny kiddos anymore. Both of them, much to my chagrin, Carlos, did not end up at Florida State University. They had their own brains, their own thoughts, They both ended up at the University of Central Florida, and they graduated as a knight. They had a wonderful experience. Alex, in addition to being very creative and a degree in media, is also a musician, so which I know you know a couple of things about. And he's been playing for a band here for a while. They've now started to travel and started to enjoy some success. So he's living the dream. He's doing all that he has dreamed about for a long time. Andres, our youngest, is a big basketball guy. I mean, he has been a LeBron James fan. So we've now been Cleveland fans, Miami fans, we're now LA fans.
Yes. I love it.
Wherever LeBron has gone, so have the Gonzalez's. And so he, usually after work every day, he's out someplace playing basketball, pick up basketball. So both of them, I'm blessed, are working for the firm. Alex does all our social media, and Andres runs our bookkeeping and stuff like that. So I get to see them every day and poke at them every single day. What an incredible honor! What a great. I never thought they would want to work with Dad, but here we are. So just blessed as blessed can be.
Oh, that sounds incredible to be able to be doing work that you feel very fulfilled with your children, and really truly becomes a family affair at that point. Now, do you still get out with your younger son and hoop it up, or are you now reserved to the sidelines?
I tried, Carlos. I tried my best. I've not been able to beat him in a basketball game since probably the end of junior high school. And he's so smart. We play. He'll give me the first few points. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm shooting that thing pretty. And then 15 in a row, it's more. And of course, my back hurts. I walk in. Lisa, hand me the aspirin. This is killing me.
And then it's rehabbing for the next few weeks, huh?
So I've given up challenging him in basketball. We've been playing tennis for a few years, and I can still hold my own on the tennis court. So that's where it's at, baby.
There you go. There, bring him to your turf. There you go. Don't let him think he's the alpha quite yet. I love it.
Me too.
Well, you've shared with us so much today, Rafael, as I'm thinking about you as a professional, certainly as a family man, and as a member of an incredibly valuable member of your community. What would you say you would want your legacy to be that you leave behind? Share with me your heart along the lines of what you want to be remembered for.
Big question. So, Carlos, I recently was blessed to have been named Tampa Hispanic Man of the Year. And they wanted me to deliver a message pretty much in the same light as your question here. What do you want to be known for? What is it that you want folks to walk away thinking, right? And for me, it's this, and I think we've repeated it several times today, is I just wanted to give I'm so incredibly grateful and thankful for these amazing opportunities. I wanted every chance of that, to be bigger than life, if you will, and to create friendships and relationships with folks at all different levels, right? That would allow me the opportunity to give back. And then when they needed someone as an example to be called upon. So for me, that's really, I think, what I always wanted to be here for a community, always wanted to be here for those folks who needed the example, always wanted to be here to make sure that a community was better, a better place to live, to work, to play, to learn in, to rehab and get better at. So for me, that's really the gift, right? That I certainly want to live this earth, be known as.
That's fantastic. Earlier you mentioned, Rafael, how you felt about the importance of an education. Would you look into the camera and maybe address those young people that might be watching this, an aspiring leader? What advice would you give them if they're looking to follow a similar path as yourself?
Look, I know from a personal perspective, it's hard, especially when the family doesn't have the income, the resources, right? I was one of those, and I had to borrow money to be able to get to. And once I got there, worked harder than anybody else to try and earn the scholarships because I knew my mom just couldn't do it by herself. So it's going to be hard. You better believe it. Is it going to be times where you think it's impossible? I just cannot do this. Yeah. But look around you. there are opportunities in your community. That's what I'm trying to be, right? Find them, look for them and find them, and then just keep working as hard as you possibly can to make those dreams come true. It's happening every single day. I see folks, recent immigrants to this amazing country that are making those dreams come true and are going to graduate schools or landing these amazing jobs and truly creating amazing, right, environments for their families. So it absolutely is can be very real for you as well.
Rafael, thank you so much again for coming on our podcast, giving us such rich advice, and just really being the example that you've always been. And so we really, truly appreciate it. Thank you so much again.
My pleasure, Carlos. Thank you so much for having me, man. It's a real honor, a real pleasure to be with you.
If you're interested in connecting with Rafael, we are going to post a link to his LinkedIn down in our description section of this podcast. You could also learn more about Cattie González by visiting their website, which we'll also provide a link to below. We really appreciate you joining us today on Live, Lead, Legacy, where we explore the stories, strategies, and successes that inspire leaders to leave a lasting legacy. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration on their leadership journey. For more insights, resources, and updates, don't forget to follow us on all of your social media outlets, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and certainly LinkedIn. Until next time, friends, remember, live with intention, lead with impact, and build the legacy that matters.